Right, so after last week we made this script synchronizer and we didn't actually make it the way I expected we would actually make this. Or I've looked back at this and I thought we could do a little bit better. So first of all, I'm just going to make this so it's a concatenation. So concat, and undone is now going to be a list of callbacks. So I'm just going to set it to an initial undone, which means in here we can do the script synchronizer, and we can go undone dot push the undone, and that will add on to that. But that also means that down here we need to actually do the script synchronizer as a for loop, so we actually go through all of these different functions. And we just do something like this. So just do let j equals 0, j is less than dot length, and j plus plus. We just put j in here, and I think we can just put it in a parameter and call. That should work, if I remember right. And I think that's everything we needed to do. But we can actually optimize this in the loader, this is in the game client, by now actually having, instead of doing this all the time, actually we need to go back into the script loader, script synchronizer, and we're doing this push, but if it's undefined, if undone is undefined, then we're not going to add anything to it. Double equals, else I'm just going to do what we did previously. So we're not going to actually have anything in here except for just a blank array. This, on the other hand, we've also got to do the same thing, where if undone is nothing, we don't add anything. So we can just put in the opposite of this. So now that should work just the same. To get back into the loader, now we only need to do some of the callbacks. So if I don't put a parameter in, it automatically goes over as an undefined. So that's what we need to do now. Oh no, this one's actually got the function. And all these will not actually have to be added. So we just have to put now in the core default, or is it? We wanted this last one, we didn't want the rest. So from default files, and as long as we put the same name in, these should all get added to the same list, and just this last one should have the callback sent to it. And we can do the same thing for the editor loader, I think, if it's still open, yeah. And it should work exactly the same way. So that's just neaten that up a tiny bit more. And let's just quickly run this to make sure it works. Which looks like we've got an error. I'll just quickly go through this. Call is not defined. Wondering if it's just an uppercase or whether it is actually not something we can do. In which case we can just put the, hopefully we can just use it as a function. Which we can, and it looks like we haven't got any errors here as well. So let's just go and open up the editor. Make sure we've done this correctly for the editor as well. Let's get to the scene. Let's open up just any file. So it looks like it's working. And uncalled loader is not defined on line 35, and that's because on the editor loader if I undo everything that was in here, we can just see some of the things that it was doing. So if we just repeat it, it didn't have that core.launch, so now this should just work. And core.loader, and it parsed it. So just do another scene. So it's worked for both cases. It's a bit neater. Now, I was going to use today I was going to do the actor editor, but I'm actually going to change that to actually doing because I want to make sure these episodes are slightly smaller. I want to do the JSON parsing. So when we save the file, right now it just looks like it looks like a very long string. Oh, that was like this. Unfortunately, I don't want it to actually look like this, so I want to make some sort of parser which will allow us to save the scene and actually have it look like this, which is much more readable. So that's what I want to do today, which can actually be useful for many other things, not just the this engine. So I need to go into the editor server because I'm going to just do it for the editor, and I can always use this later on. So the function I'm going to set up, and it's going to be JSON parse to readable, and I'm just going to put in JSON data into this file, and then we're going to return JSON data. So at the moment it does nothing, but I'm just doing this just so we can put in where it says writable here. So this is on the save scene. I'm just going to use this function, and we are going to go and take the save data or scene data, and we're just going to throw it into here, and we're going to make this message.scene data equal whatever we parse it here. So I also want to just do a quick console.log of JSON data, and we're currently running it, but because we're editing the server, we need to relaunch the server every time we change it. So let's just go and create a default copy. Let's just run a save to says save successful, so we can see now what it contains, which is just a string, which is perfect. So now we're going to have to go through and look at every single thing that we need to do to make this look readable. So one of the things we can notice is there's tabs, and the tab length is set every time we do something like a brace or a bracket or a square bracket. So we can use this information to know what we're actually making it look like. So in this case we can see a square bracket always comes after a colon. And let's go back onto this server. So we can go, first of all we need to track how many indents we're actually doing at this moment. So right now it should be 0. Tab indent len equals 0. So as we go through we should be able to append it. So it's been a while since I've done something like this. So let's go split by colon with a square, and then what we can do is a dot. Actually, no, that should be okay. And then each of these should be split with another one of the okay, we'll just save this out as another piece of data. So let bracket equal this, which means that we can now just do a dot join on this. And if we did a try and be very careful with what I do here. So let's just loop through all of these first. Bracketed for let I equals 0, I is less than bracketed dot length I plus plus. So as this increases, so should the length increase. But then we also need to look for every time it closes, we need to make a let bracketed sections equal empty. So it won't actually be starting from 0, because what we need to put in this bracketed first is the actual bracketed 0, because before this actually appears there will be data, so we need to make sure we hold that data before we actually do anything else. So then these bracketed sections we need to do a dot push so instead of actually doing 0, I'm actually going to put it as a string. So I'm going to store it every time we increase it. I'm going to put \t and add it to it, so that way we actually get a tab. This bracketed section should actually become, I need to have a look at this, every time we get this close bracket it's going to add, make sure it cuts it off. So dot push is bracketed dot split, and I'm going to put 0 and I'm going to put 1 here. So now every time it goes up it should increase Okay, we're actually going to store it slightly differently. We're going to actually store it with a brace because we want to have this as the data, and we're also going to store the indent, and we're going to just put it as nothing for the first one, or actually we're going to just store it as a 0. 0 means we're going to have to change this back to 0 as well. So the indent.length should be if bracketed dot is it contains includes this close bracket. Then we're going to go and do everything that we've got here. If not, I'm going to just skip this and we're just going to push the bracketed, which now just means we need to put the indents in here. So data is going to be this, and the indent is going to be well, it has to be 1 already, so the indent's got to increase. And we can just put indent here, and after this it would also decrease. Otherwise it doesn't actually do anything except for just add the data. So let's just put all these data bits in. Just keep it consistent. Indent length. And the data just needs to be indent length. So this bracketed, it actually isn't bracketed in itself because this is just a loop, so we've got to put I. I'm going to put I here. I'm going to put I here as well. So that should store all the data. And when it comes to rejoining all this, we need to make sure we put in the ends and the new points. So let's rejoin everything now. And we're going to go through, let I equals 0, I is less than, bracketed sections, dot length, I plus plus, and now we just got to go through all of these and rejoin it. So let's put the JSON data, because everything should be stored outside of JSON data. And just to make it an empty string. And then we'll do for j equals 0, j is less than something, which is going to be the indent.length, which we haven't actually worked out yet. So first of all, we want to make sure that the JSON data adds a \t for bracketed sections .i, bracketed sections I dot indent. So now that should give us all the \t's, and then I'm just going to join the data onto the end of that. And first of all, I've got to do plus equals, and it's colon square. Actually, I'm going to make a let tmp indent equal nothing, and we'll actually just do all this on that. So now \r\n, and we might have to change that later because I can't remember if you need to have both of them. I think on Mac you need only one of these, but I think it should be okay if you keep both. So let's do the temp indent, and that should be after the colon. Right, that should work. And JSON plus equals the data, and then we should loop through the remaining pieces of data, and when that's done it should be okay to work. So now we need to try this because we've edited the editor. Oh, we need to actually, yeah, that should export it, so it should be actually seen if we just put this after everything. Launch the editor 3. Okay, so it's got an error already because it's pushing, but we didn't actually make this an object. So let's just quickly go and make an object out of all of this. Now that should be okay. Let's just quickly load in anything else. Save as now we should see exactly what it looks like. So we can see all this increases as it goes, but let's actually have a look at what it looks like in the file. Right, so it doesn't look like it has done this minus minus. Actually need to also put in the we don't need this \r. This is going to take a very long while to figure out. Let's just run the editor again. Just do test JSON. Something's wrong here. Okay, so I'm going to have to put in an extra parameter here called has closing, and this is just going to be a true or false, and this is actually false. It's actually false. It's this one that's this one's true. You know, let end state equal. Let's just make this the closing blocks. And then we can actually go for another for loop. Let j equal 0, j is less than closing blocks dot length, closing blocks dot plus plus. We actually won't need actual includes anymore. And what I'm actually going to do now is going to put, instead of doing it this way, I'm going to do the j equals closing blocks dot -1. Then we're going to push this, which actually means that and if it isn't, we're going to push this, which also means that this would actually belong to the closing block, but it would actually happen after the closing block. No, it's after this one. So I'm actually going to put the closing block to the data as the j for both of these. Which means this has got to change now to reflect this new information. We can put if has closing Now let's just run this again and see if it actually works this time. Oh, it's the wrong server. Let's just open up the scene, save it again. It's getting a lot closer. Game day. which means I think what we've missed here is also the opening part. Which also means that we need to has opening false. It's probably a much easier way to do this. Equals, let's just say if j equals 0. So that should be true or false, regardless. So only when it's the first block do we have it as the opening. So now we have to just separate the data part out from the indents. So if bracketed has opening, so that checks if it has an opening, then we add the opening tags, and if it has a closing, we add the closing tags. Essentially all I'm doing. So now we save that and we just run the server again. Save it as a test JSON 4. So it's getting a lot closer. I might just have a look at what's in the bracketed section. This is always the one that I'm copying. I'm just going to copy this and put this into a new file so we can have a look at what I'm expecting. Could also be just that I haven't put the \r after this as well. That could be one thing. just keep going through this one then. So still going to look like a mess. So it was to type render rectangle, then it was the closing. It doesn't have this for some reason. So let's have another look. Well, that might have actually changed something there. Let's try that again. Wrong one. This time we can have a look and see that it actually has everything in it now. That took a lot longer than it should have. Now the question is, can I make this recursive? In which case I'm going to need to put in starting, opening and comma closing, opening tag and closing tag. And then anywhere we see this, I'm going to put the opening tag. And anywhere we see this, I'm going to put a closing tag. And now that should work. String splitter. To just string splitter. Now we can put function, whatever we called that function originally, which was just here. JSON data. Now I'm just going to call this string splitter with this data. So JSON data. JSON data equals JSON data. And now we just got to put in the now we can just do this probably like so, as well as doing the other one, which is the braces, and then we just return JSON data. If it breaks, we can just cancel out one of these just so we can see what we're working with. And save it as default JSON 8, which seems to have worked, and see what's actually in this file now. JSON 8. It's a lot closer. And I think one of the things that I broke was when we go to the close tag here, I want to actually have to put the indent back in. I think that needs to be done. Oh no, it won't be that. Else you need to add JSON plus equals the tag indent, and that should be fine now. I've just saved it over JSON 8, that's fine. So you can see this is getting a bit closer to the actual what we would actually want, which is fine. This is actually pretty much human readable now. The only things are the commas. Pretty much just the commas, but everything else is human readable, and I believe it just looks the same as this, which just means the layers needs to have this little thing on here. For some reason it's starting at indent 1. As far as I'm concerned, this is readable. The only problem is if you ever had something like this, not that a script would ever have this block brace at the end, but if it ever did, that would be one of the causes for concern. Especially if you've got something like you're saving data, like something in text to speech or something. You haven't got the backslash square bracket or something. Because that's what we've got in the properties when you save text. It's one of the things that could go wrong. So I'm wondering if we can just do something quickly to mitigate it. This colon, I can't guarantee what's at the start of that, and we can not really guarantee what's at the start of in which case I think we need to switch these around. So we always do the brackets first, then we do the square brackets. In which case in a second we've got to check that can still load from this. check game clients data scenes 9. I'm wondering if it's worth removing the trim the spaces before the commas. In which case, how would I do that? So let's assume the string splitter's working. So then we go to function string plain commas. JSON data. So now I want to go let split data equals JSON data dot split by \r\n if let's leap forward, let new data equal nothing, then for let I equals 0, I is less than dot split dot length I plus plus and if we go if split data index I dot trim equals comma, then we're going to push new data plus equals just a comma, else new data plus equal \r\n. I'm just going to add that on. And can we first of all we're going to do 1, so then we can just look at this split data dot 0 and we're just going to put this in here. And all that's going to do is it's going to stop us from writing this \r\n at the very start of the text. So before we send this back to the saving part of this, I'm going to just do the clean commas with the data itself, with the data I'm sending, and that should hopefully just remove all the commas from it. And what? So I've got 2 editors open. Yeah. Just quickly look at this JSON 10 undefined. Well, because we didn't send anything back. Maybe we can sort this out here as well. So if it has nothing in between it, we can just print on the splitter. So if it has an opening and a closing, but it doesn't have anything in between it, so no data, then we're just going to do it the other way. So we've got to have all this, but if has opening tag and as closing tag and trim equals nothing, then else, because obviously if it's doing the other thing, it's not failed one of those. So if there is nothing inside of it, then we're going to just put the JSON tab indent opening tag. I'll just put one space and we'll put the closing tag, and that should work. And eventually let's get back to this again. Client data scenes, I set it as 12. So here now we can see it's actually just put it as a closed bracket. Some of this is not what I wanted it to look like, so add a /R. I've also got to add the tab indent Pretty sure this comma isn't working here. It should work now. Okay, so one of the things it's doing wrong is it's not adding an extra let's just close some of these out. When we're adding the data in, it's not adding the extra little bracket. So now if I run it, it should I think I'm going to actually just keep it as just the closed brackets, which is, this is very finicky and it's taking a while to get right.